65 acres. Great.
Make your computer easier to use.
We need more chairs. Probably in the other room.
One of them.
Video's live. You're unmuted. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Mayoral.
We ready to roll?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Ruidoso regular council meeting. It's April 13th, 2020. It's 1 o'clock. So if you'll join me, we'll have an invocation that I'll ask to be provided by Councilor Jackson. And then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, but we'll start with a moment of silence. Please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, this village, and those in attendance, for those who live in this village and all of us who partake and make it a better place to live in day by day. Please guide our thoughts in your heavenly wisdom, our eyes to see the truth, our ears to hear it, and most importantly, our mouths to speak it. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mayor, looks like we lost signal.
And Windstream. It's probably a connection to the TV.
But that was a good prayer.
I didn't know
Repeat it, Gary.
Know when to hear it and especially repeat it, yeah. It's blank, just says no signal. PC HDMI 1.
We're on.
It was right there.
I guess we were on the whole time. Okay, we'll proceed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right, you may be seated. Thank you. The people are texting me saying we were streaming the whole time, so technical difficulties. We'll have a roll call, please.
Mayor Crawford,
Here?
Councillor Salas,
Here.
Councillor Lutterman,
Here.
Councillor Eby,
Here.
Councillor Cornelius, Councillor Coughlin,
Here.
Councillor Jackson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. And if you'll forgive my voice, I'm part of the 50% that are suffering from allergies these last couple of days. And we'd like to welcome home Councillor Cornelius, who's been away for a while. And I guess we're going to have to get used to that. Is that what I hear?
That's what you hear.
That's what I hear. Okay, I'd like a motion for the approval of today's agenda with the caveat that I can move around a few things. We've got some people on the phone and people here.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the agenda be approved as presented and that the chair be given the option of moving items of discussion as needs must.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, Ron.
Councillor Jackson,
Aye.
Councillor Salas,
Aye.
Councillor Lutterman,
Aye.
Councillor Eby,
Aye.
Councillor Cornelius,
Aye.
Councillor Coughlin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move through the consent regular items, and then we'll move around on the agenda. Item number 1 is approval of governing body minutes, March 9th, 2021, regular meeting, April 1, 2020, special meeting, April 6th, 2021, workshop meeting, Item number 2 is discussion on adoption of Resolution 2021-17, a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a local government planning grant agreement by and between the New Mexico Finance Authority and the Village of Ruidoso, Lincoln County, New Mexico. Item number 3 is approval of memorandum of agreement between the Capitan Public Library and the Ruidoso Public Library to better provide services to the community. Item number 4 is approval of rental purchase agreement with Wagner Equipment Company for the lease of a 150 all-wheel drive motor grader. Item number 5, approval of annual operating plan for the North Creek Wells Special Use Permit with the Lincoln National Forest. Item number 6 is approval of first renewal agreement, IFB, award number 2016-004B with Sierra Contracting, Inc. for vegetative waste disposal. Item number 7 is discussion on second renewal agreement with the Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce for professional services for operation of visitor centers for the Village of Ruidoso. Item number 8, approval of second renewal agreement with High Mountain Concessionaire LLC to operate concessions at Grindstone Lake. Item number 9, approval of T-Hanger monthly lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and Richard Michaels for Alpha 1 T-Hanger beginning March 4th, 2021. Item number 10 is approval of T-Hanger monthly lease agreement between the Village of Ruidoso, Sierra Blanca Regional Airport, and James Paxton for Bravo 6 T-Hanger beginning April 1, 2021. Item number 11 is request to schedule a quasi-judicial public hearing on May 11th, 2021 for the final development plan to operate outdoor recreation activities within a 5-acre tract known as the James Townsend Tract 1A, located at 525 Resort Drive, Ruidoso, New Mexico. Could I get a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve consent regular items as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Ron.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Counselor Lutterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby. Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius. Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, way to go. Thank you. I want to go ahead and move to mayoral reports and presentations. So we have so many guests and people that are working and need to get back to work. So we'll start with the introduction of new Village of Ruidoso employees, and this is pretty awesome. We had a freeze for so long, and now then we're getting some folks in. So if you'll stand, and I think I don't know if we need to shake anybody's hand, but we want all of you guys to know who we are, and we want to start recognizing some of you. Some of you have grown up along since I've seen you before, and it's our time recognizing you, but we're glad to have you. So as I read your name, if you'd please stand, and if you want to say anything, feel free. And if you want to tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, or just something short. First off is Zane Reynolds. Date of hire is 3/29/2021. He's a non-certified police officer. Welcome, Zane. You want to tell us just briefly where you come from, who you are?
I'm from here. Thank you. Zane Reynolds. I was born and raised here in Ruidoso. I was in the military for a little while, came back home, and decided to get a job where I could help my own community.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Very good. I know your parents are proud of you. Lionel Aguilar. Date of hire is 3/29/2021. He's a water wastewater maintenance worker 1. Is he here?
Yep, right here.
All right, come on around here and I don't mind if you take your mask down. Tim's had all of his shots. So's our attorneys. I know that's hard to believe, but attorneys do get shots.
All right. Well, that's good. Name is Lionel Aguilar, born and raised here my entire life. I just want to start a career in the city that I've, grown to really love.
Awesome. Great. We're glad to have you. We're always here for you. That's a busy department. It's a very essential department, so we look forward to having you here for a long time.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Ishmael Yasasi? All right, I got that right, almost. Date of hire, 3/29/2021, water wastewater maintenance worker 1.
So, like you said, my name's Ishmael Isasi. I go by Ish. I was born and raised here. Moved away in 2005. Came back 3 months ago. and decided to come in, get a job where hopefully get a career, move forward, advance, and, be a part of a great working system.
Awesome, good, and we hope you find that here. Welcome. Quincy Klein, data hire 4/5/2021 street maintenance worker.
Hi, I'm Quincy Klein, and I've lived here my whole life, and I've worked here with Barney Rue, and I've worked with him forever, and now I'm doing what he trained me to do. keep the town streets maintenance.
Awesome, and you know how to run the equipment. Well, we're glad to have you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Sydney Mowry, 4/12/2021 Recreation and Adult Youth Coordinator. Hi, Sydney.
Hello. Sydney Mallory, I was born in Clovis, moved around a lot. My husband and I moved here from Dallas in July because he's a teacher at the high school, and I'm really excited to be a part of a community and not the big Dallas.
Oh, absolutely. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joshua Witt, date of hire 4/12/2021, non-certified police officer.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. From Roswell, New Mexico. Tried my luck down there, didn't make it, so I headed up here, and here I am. So proud to be here, and thank you.
All right, well, we hope you enjoy it here, Joshua.
You'll like it here better.
And Jimmy Hernandez, 4/12/2021, a certified police officer. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. Jimmy Hernandez, born and raised in Albuquerque. Visited about 5 years ago and fell in love with it ever since. And excited to come be a part of a small community as well.
Awesome, thank you. Hope you enjoy it here.
Glad you're
All right,
here.
thank you very much. And then we have our lifeguards. Where's Rodney?
I apologize, sir. They should be in school.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and read them off because he's already hiring guards to get ready for our summer business. We have Kelby Hightower, Eric Guerrero, Alexander Akins, Romy Carr, Elisa Sagra Yamashimura, Brooke Ilgen, Christian Ogden, and Bay Rayburn, and Jasmine Bourne.
Nice.
So we're glad that you're already getting ahead of that, Rod. And then we'll move on to retirements. It seems like every meeting we're having
Question
people.
for Rod right quick.
What's that?
The question for
Shoot.
Rod is Romy the head guard, Rod? I didn't know if there was someone else.
She was just hired as a guard at this time to
Okay.
participate in the recertification class. And so she is qualified and probably would be a most likely candidate for a head guard position.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Good?
That's it.
Okay. Everybody knows Romy.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to retirements. We have individuals given a lot of her time in the past years given to this community in a pretty tough position, a job over there that I know is like some of the others around. And I'm not talking about ours, but yours that you don't get a lot of accolades on. But when she ran, she was overwhelmingly picked by the people to represent and be the judge. I'm talking about Judge Beverly Rankin. Service date is from 3/12/2010 through 4/30/2021. So she's going to be retiring at the end of this month. And we just wanted to congratulate her.
Yes.
And say thank you for your faithful service, you and your husband Jack, because my wife understands that when you do this kind of thing, you get as much guff as she does. So we appreciate you standing behind her and supporting her always. And Judge, we appreciate everything that you've done. We've got a nifty little platter for you here, and I want you to come out and just say something to us. And we appreciate all the things that you've done. But this is in appreciation of your service, Judge Rankin, as municipal judge, March 12th, 2012, 2010, and to April 30th, 2021, in appreciation of your years of hard work and dedicated service to the community and to the village of Ruidoso. We hope you enjoy your retirement, and you also. So thank you for everything that you've done, and this is just a small token of
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
say something?
Short and sweet. I'm going to be praying for you guys. Ask the Lord to bless and keep every one of you. Y'all have been an absolute joy to work with, and I'm going to miss you terribly, but I am going to be here.
Absolutely.
All right.
We know where you live, so we will be calling on you.
All right. God bless.
Hold on, Judge, hold on. Pass it over again. We didn't get a picture.
Can you see it? You may come around there?
That would be
I
better.
would love it.
Go around there.
As a matter of fact, let me go around too, so we get the flags behind you guys.
Can I get your face, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yeah.
Get over here, Judge, right there, front.
Oh.
I like flags, as you can tell. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
He's agreed to help stay on a little while to help with our seating of our new judge, so she's gracious all the way up through the end. So- Okay, now this is for presentation of employee and department of the quarter. Okay, thank you, Ron, for keeping me straight. Now this goes to the department of the quarter.
Correct.
Okay. All right, the employee of the quarter. Let me move some of this around. The employee of the quarter is Cassandra Zitler. I've met her a dozen times. I think that we just call her Cassie. But we thank you for demonstrating the continued commitment and leadership to achieve success. You make a difference in your department and with the village, within the village of Ruidoso. So is Cassandra here?
Mayor, they let her go on vacation since she was employee of the quarter.
She missed her shot. But anyway, she's been very impactful since she's been here, and we do appreciate Cassandra, our Cassie. And the Department of the Quarter goes to the custodian crew. These guys, I see them all the time working. I don't see them in here, though. They came in and sanitized the department. Oh, there they are.
All right.
Yay.
Hey, Billy, you guys are a department of two?
No, there's 3.
3. Oh, I didn't even see you over there, Luis. I don't know. I guess I just need my glasses. But anyway, this is to you guys. One of you want to come up here and
Or all 3?
all 3 of you.
All 3 of them. Congratulations, Dave.
I'm glad to see they separated you guys out as a separate department, because you guys do so much with so little.
So awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Please, thank you, buddy.
Good to see
Oh,
you.
here,
Thank you,
here's
Billy.
your stuff. Come and get it. But we appreciate all the hard work. I know.
Thank you, sir.
cleaning up after everybody and sanitizing. This yours too.
Well, that's ours too?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Good job.
Something else to clean. So anyway, thank you guys for all you do. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Remind the public that in the hand sanitizer dispensers in Midtown,
Those guys are
those are the guys that keep those replenished. Okay?
All right, those guys can get back to work. And Mayor Pro Tem just reminded me that the custodial crew are the responsible for filling all the hand sanitizers in Midtown. And I know in between meetings, they're in here doing fogging and all the rest of that. Okay, so now we're on to item number 4 is Proclamation, the month of April as Keep Ruidoso Beautiful and Great American Cleanup. And, all right. T-Bone, you want to come on up while I read this?
Yay.
Good job.
T-Bone always does a great job. Everything he does. Okay, proclamation. Whereas Keep America Beautiful is the nation's iconic community improvement nonprofit organization that envisions a country in which every community is a clean, green, and beautiful place to live, and has established the Great American Cleanup as its signature national effort for involving American citizens in improving their community environment. And whereas Keep America Beautiful's Great American Cleanup is the nation's largest community improvement program, engaging more than 5 million volunteers and participants every year to create positive change and lasting impact in local communities. And whereas the Village of Ruidoso seeks to protect its natural resources and bringing people together to transform public spaces into beautiful places. And whereas the Village of Ruidoso Council recognizes its commitment to engage citizens, civic and government officials, and business leaders to work together to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify America's communities. And whereas Keep Ruidoso Beautiful and the Village of Ruidoso Council are committed to elevate the importance of volunteerism and motivate everyone in our community to become stewards of the environment. Now, therefore, I, Lynn D. Crawford, Mayor of the Village of Ruidoso, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 as Keep Ruidoso Beautiful and Great American Cleanup Month, and calling upon our citizens to join in activities that promote responsible environmental stewardship and help us renew our commitment to building a better world today and for future generations. Proclaimed this 13th day of April 2021 in Ruidoso, New Mexico. Thank you very much, T-Bone.
Thank you, sir.
You hang on to this, and then we have the Keep. Well, y'all got a lot more clapping to do. He just got. This is the Keep America Beautiful President's Circle Recognition Award for 2020.
Yes, for last year.
For last year. And this is presented to the Keep Ruidoso Beautiful gang. This award recognizes the standards of excellence achieved by your affiliate in 2021. It's signed by Helen Lohman, President and CEO of Keep America Beautiful. So would you give us a little background on what this is, T-Bone?
Okay, so with Keep America Beautiful, there's approximately 700 affiliates. And so they have their standards that you have to keep up with. You have their reporting. And when you do everything to their standards, they recognize the affiliates. And so Keep Ruidoso Beautiful has got the President's Circle Award this year. So
Good job, Chief.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
And I will boast on T-Bone, because we do have the chair of Keep Ruidoso Beautiful since its inception right here. And then she left. And as I was director, we always got the grants for Keep New Mexico, from Keep New Mexico Beautiful. But this man here has secured quadruple of the amount of grant funding that the state gives us here. So I applaud you on that, Chief.
Yeah.
Good job on that.
Mayor, and also, that presidential award, that's all T-Bone.
It is.
So, the committee, we're very thankful. Thank you so much. You've done such an excellent job.
Thank you.
Yep. And when you say David, nobody knows who you're talking about.
True.
So thank you very much, T-Bone, for everything that you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. And I apologize to village manager, that was actually under village manager's report.
That's all right.
But somehow I got scooped up on it. So now then we have another one that we don't have listed. I can go over, correct?
That'd be the third one. You still have the second one, Mayor.
So the second one.
Under your
Yes,
report.
number 5.
Second week of May through May
Yes.
8th,
Professional
professional
municipal
municipal.
clerk.
One in your
clerk
hand,
week.
Mayor.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about the proclamation for,
Yes, that'll be the next one, yes.
oh, it's on there too?
No, it's not on there, Mayor.
Okay.
That's the additional one.
Okay, now then, these clerks, you can't get rid of them. See, he wants to make sure he gets in here, so. This is a proclamation. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of the government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas professional municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Lynn D. Crawford, Mayor of the Village of Ruidoso, do recognize and proclaim the week of May 2nd through May 8th, 2021 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Proclaimed this 13th day of April 2021 in Ruidoso, New Mexico. So thank you, Ron. His birthday here.
No, but
She back working?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, I want to recognize Bertha de los Santos, Yvonne Bartz, and Courtney Bennett. They're should be all online. I know that Bertha and Yvonne are there. They've been working hard and making sure that we're getting agendas and getting all the clerk's office the tasks going on.
Bertha there.
So I want to thank each and every one of them. So
Hello, Bertha. Is yours?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We were just saying, we were recognizing you for all the hard work that you guys do on
And Yvonne.
taking the minutes on all the different committee meetings and the multiple meetings that we have daily. So thank you, and Yvonne. And
Thank you.
and Courtney.
And Courtney. I don't see Courtney on there.
I don't think she's on.
Thank you.
There's Yvonne. Smile, Yvonne. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right. So anyway, we appreciate you ladies for all the hard work, the details. That's always a difficult part. So thank you very much. And thank you. Anyway, we'll move on. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and last, we have a proclamation. Is Talon here?
No, Talon's at school.
Talon? Okay, so you'll give this to her?
Tomorrow, yes.
Tomorrow, okay. I had the pleasure and honor of being a judge on the youth of New Mexico, and I know Counselor Lutterman did as well. And so we got to grade essays and all these different things that these kids put out. And I'm talking about young kids. Some of them had very difficult lives. It's a big tearjerker on some of them. I saw a lot of tough people that were really, wiping their eyes severely. But these kids worked really hard, and it's very evident how these organizations like the Boys and Girls Club make a difference in so many kids' lives. And so many of them stated that. And it's organizations, not unlike our eco-servants over here, to give the youth a purpose and things to do, and camaraderie and self-esteem and all of those things. But this young lady is from Ruidoso.
Yep.
And so she had an award, and so we, thanks for the urging from Councilor Coughlin, we have a proclamation for her, and I'll read it now. Whereas the young people of Lincoln County are tomorrow's leaders, and whereas since 1947, Youth of the Year has been Boys and Girls Clubs of America premier recognition program, celebrating the extraordinary achievements of club members, and whereas Youth of the Year honorees from New Mexico are shining examples and living proof that great futures start here at the Boys and Girls Clubs. Whereas the Boys and Girls Clubs throughout New Mexico had numerous candidates participating in the 2021 New Mexico Junior Youth of the Year competition, and whereas through the Youth of the Year program, young people showcase their talents and achievements, share their hopes and dreams, and work toward a bright and positive future. And whereas the competition included a written essay, a speech about themselves and the club, then an interview by a panel of distinguished judges. That was you. Whereas it's official Lincoln County's very own Talon. That's twice. Talon. Do we have it spelled right?
Yes.
Talyn.
Talyn.
Okay, we don't have a spell right. We got to fix that. Talon Ramos was selected as New Mexico's Junior Youth of the Year for 2021. And whereas Talon Ramos started attending the Boys and Girls Club when she was in kindergarten and now as a fifth grader, continues to help staff and other kids during the day. And whereas Talon Ramos is a leader, a role model, and an all-around great kid. Now therefore, I, Lynn D. Crawford, Mayor of the Village of Ruidoso, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, April 14th, 2021 as Talon Ramos Day. So if anybody knows her, congratulate her. We'll get that corrected.
Actually, if anybody knows her, please don't say anything. We're going to do a celebration tomorrow that she just knows we're doing something, has no clue what's going on. So.
But I want to thank
Now she does.
Counselor Coughlin because he does a lot of hard work, and to read the stories, the essays, the time, and then to see the speech that these kids gave, a lot of them, that's not a normal thing for them to do. They got outside their comfort zone. They really did some good things, but it's the doors that you help open. It's the security that you give some of these kids in this direction, and just sometimes a pat on the back. And so many of the comments that they made, it was the little things that's added up to big things. In trouble with the law at young ages, drug abuse already, that are now straight A students looking forward to college and a productive life in some field that they want to be in. So thank you very much, Counselor Coughlin.
Thank you. And then in New Mexico, there's also two other categories. So this was Junior Youth of the Year. There's also the Traditional Youth of the Year, which a young gentleman from Santa Fe won that.
Yeah.
And then the Military Youth of the Year, so there's a young lady from Kirtland Air Force Base. But last year, both the Traditional and Military New Mexico Youths of the Year went on to the regional, then went on to the national competition in Washington, D.C., and our Military Youth of the Year was named the National Youth of the Year. When they get to that level, they get $100,000 in scholarships and a new Toyota car. So it's not a little thing. This is the beginning steps of all of that. So thank you, Mayor, Counselor, and also our attorney, Zach Cook, was one of our judges as well. So thank you guys for participating.
You bet. Thanks for asking us.
Enjoyable.
All right, we'll move on, folks. So thank you. Well, thanks for standing, by the way.
Mayor, may I recommend that we move on to regular item number 3?
Number 3 is at Eco. Yep. Thank you. All right, if you guys want to have a seat, and I was trying to move as fast as I could, Mr. Carter. And we still have to call you Echo once in a while. The former mayor always called them Echo servants, and we all miss Tom and whatever, but here we are. We'll move to item number 2 on regular, item number 3. On regular items, number 3, discussion and possible action on third renewal agreement with Eco Servants, Inc. for professional services for community partnership improvement projects.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilors. I'm Rodney Diego, the Parks and Recreation Director. As you mentioned, this is the third renewal agreement for the services provided by the local eco servants to the village of Ruidoso. They perform various services throughout the year for the Parks Department, beautification projects, trail building, trail maintenance. They also cooperate with the Keep Ruidoso Beautiful program, weed eradication with the musk thistles. They currently have been working with the airport doing some brush removal around the perimeter fence, and they're just really an invaluable group. We really couldn't complete all of our responsibilities without their assistance, and so this agreement, just can't say enough about it and this group. So again, we would appreciate the renewal of the agreement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we hear from Steve Carter? Could you get up and just say something? We always love hearing from you, and you'll have to talk loud into that thing.
Steve Carter, Eco Service here. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Good. I've got 6 of my crew here. I have one more that's out today. We're hoping to hire during the summer. We haven't heard back from State Purchasing Department about our Youth Conservation Report program, but we should be getting that. So if that goes through, I'll be hiring 27 people locally in Ruidoso and then 27 out of Otero. This year our work is we're just about to open a trail in Sawmill Canyon. It's about 1.8 miles. I think we'll have it opened up at the end of the month. And then we're also planning a 4.2 mile trail, which will connect up to the Grindstone Mesa. And this will kind of help relieve some of the overflow that you have at the Grindstone trails.
Awesome.
Other than that, we enjoy where we are. Enjoy where
Awesome. Thank you very much. Steve, you've done a great job here over the years.
Excellent.
Anybody have anything? Okay, we need a motion, please.
I move that we, I'm sorry.
Number 3.
Yes, thank you.
And the next
I apologize. I move that we extend the third renewal agreement with EcoServants, Inc. for professional services for community partnership improvement projects.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any final discussion? Roll call, please, Ron.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby. Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius. Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
For everything that you do.
It's nice to see you in person again.
Okay, so we'll get back on, is it boards and commissions, Ron?
That's what I have.
Hold on there, 1 second.
Mayor,
Public.
we are recommending that letters of recognitions be sent to each one of the eco-servants.
I can't hear you.
We are recommending that letters of recognition be sent to the eco-servants, so Rodney and Ron will get together on that and make a presentation to you on this.
I think that's good. And what Tim's talking about, just letters that we start sending out, recognizing individuals or groups in the community that are really doing outstanding work, volunteerism and things like that. And, everybody loves a thank you note, and that's basically what these are. And they're all heartfelt and very sincere. So we'll get one out to eco-servants. It maybe have to be eco/echo. I always crack me up when Tom would do that. Echo.
Mayor Crawford, boards and commissions, yes.
Boards and commissions. Okay, we'll go to boards and commissions next for new appointments. And one of these folks on here, I think everybody knows everybody, but Parks and Rec has had a couple of vacancies. And so we have a couple of individuals that have expressed their interest. And so I've talked to them and they've agreed to serve. That is young man Logan Flaherty, which most people know all the Flahertys around here. And so we're looking forward to Logan participating and getting involved. And then Sunny Hirschfeld, and everybody knows Sunny. She's been on Lodgers Tax and helped on many events throughout the community for many years and has been a backbone, a part of the backbone of this community for a long time. So I would ask for a motion to approve these two.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the appointments as presented to Parks and Rec, that of Logan Flaherty and Sunny Hirschfeld.
Second.
All right, no discussion. Roll call, please, Ron.
Counselor Jackson.
Aye.
Counselor Salas.
Aye.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
And Counselor Coughlin.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Crawford, we also have the public input, and we did not receive anything for public input.
Okay, is that one coming up? Coming up?
That one was prior to this, Mayor.
Oh, that was before, okay. So I should ask you, we did not have anything come up for public input.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, the clerk's office did not receive anything for the public input.
Thank you for repeating that. Okay, we'll move on to reports from municipal officials. And we'll start with someone that we haven't heard from in a while. And I think we better get all the goodie we could out of him if there's any left. So Councilor Cornelius, would you like to go?
Mayor Crawford.
Hmm?
We have the village manager's report is next.
Okay. So did I skip all the way down through it?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. But I did have the ability to
Yes.
move it around.
Yes. No, you do have the ability to move
So
it, Mayor Crawford.
we'll go ahead and let John Cornelius give his first, and then we'll knock these guys out and we'll move back to Tim. All right. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, I wasn't around much the last.
And you're going to speak up. Can anybody hear him?
So I don't have a whole lot to report on. I did hear your radio show on Monday with Frank Potter,
Yes.
and that was very interesting, the way he had been tricked into village employment.
Over and over.
Over and over. He's a slow learner.
That's true.
And that's it. Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Coughlin?
This last month has been a whirlwind. It's been so busy, I can't even remember much of what happened. So I'm going to pass it on to the next person.
Well, I mean, this is the first of,
Check for snow outside.
yeah.
Well, in that case,
And we'll move on to the always wordsmith, Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I read through the manager's report, it always is a guide to help me know exactly where we are, where we're going, and more importantly, where we've been and how much better we're doing. To that, the short-term rentals, I was really taken back when I looked at it, and less than 10% of those are non-compliant. So I have the 992 that are. And the other thing that kind of got me was I was walking the trail the other day around the links, and I came across this new bench. And then I read the memoria that went with that bench, and it was pretty heartfelt on a youth that had been hit with lightning. And the Easter egg hunt, again, Parks and Rec always come through to make this more fun to be in and fun in the Pines. And I was also taken with all the work the street department's doing. It seems like 2-inch galvanized pipe is the bane of their existence and continues to be so. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Well, a lot of these guys are speechless, so we'll save the best for last and move to Councilor Eby.
Oh, caught me off guard there.
I know that. I can see you snoozing over there.
First of all, I want to welcome all of the new employees that have come on here at the village. I'm glad to see that the police department has 3 new officers coming on board, so that's great. And, while things have been kind of quiet as far as, it depends on how you look at it, the village has never been quiet. They've been humming along, doing their business, doing exactly what they needed to do. And to echo Councilor Jackson, we have, we've come a long ways, and we're pulling along from where we were. And what could have been, and in many places had been a disaster, and so to speak. But with that just gives credit to you all again. You all, the staff, the administration, the mayor. So I want to give you all kudos for that. And we are going to miss Councilor Cornelius.
I know he still has a while to leave, but we just want to wear him out before he.
Right now, I'd say right now, I think we got to give him a lot of appointments.
There you go.
You got to keep him busy.
Keep him busy.
let's create some committees for him.
You bet. But other than that, I'm glad the state's opening up. And just to comment on Councilor Jackson's short-term rentals, I did get my tax statement from property taxes, and I have been changed from a NR to a business.
You have.
I have. So, just a side note.
So that was Mr. Hill just reaching
Out of the
into
blue.
our jurisdiction and saying, you now are a business.
Yes.
No, it's non-residential.
Does it say business or does it say non-residential?
It was an NR.
An NR?
Now it's business.
Now it says business.
I'm going to have to look, sorry.
According to all the realtors, they say you only have 2 classifications. One is residential and one's
And
non-residential.
non-residential, that's what I thought. So maybe he's changing the non-residential to all businesses.
Which we don't think he has the authority to do, so it's overreach, but we're working on that too.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to piggyback, Keep Ruidoso Beautiful. We're going to be picking up trash from April 15th to May 15th. We're not going to have anything at the park, of course, because of COVID. But so if you want, you can have 14 people in your party to pick up. And so you would just go online to the Village of Ruidoso's website, to Parks and Rec, to activities, and you can sign up. And Parks and Rec will give you your T-shirts and your gloves and trash bags. And so we've got a month to do that, so that's really important. I also wanted to say thank you to Rodney and Parks and Rec for the Easter egg hunt. I went by several times, and they did it 2 different days. And it just, the kids really enjoyed it, and they posted a lot of pictures. And so I just really appreciate the time spent making a difference in a child's life. And then just appreciate all of the hard work that top down from the village of Ruidoso this past year. And now we're kind of reaping the fruit from everything, kind of getting back to normal, but just appreciate all the hard work. And you as well, Mayor. Thank you very much.
And just picking back on your school deal, Becca Ferguson with the school system sent a really nice email commending Parks and Rec for all the Easter egg hunts at the schools. And then I got thank yous from homeschool families that came by Parks and Rec office, and you had nice little bags for them. So you and Melissa and Jasmine and all those guys do an awesome job. And I hate saying names because I always forget all the ones, but again, you do a great job. Okay, last but not least.
Last but least.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor.
Salas.
Yes, sir. Everybody's sharing thoughts are always a help for me and a reminder of the awesome crew that we have working for us, and also the citizens' participation in helping us, especially with the cleanups, like you said, or just even notifications of certain potholes on the streets and things like that. So, but kudos to the water department. I do get to witness them firsthand fix a water leak on our street, and they had that done like in 4 hours. I mean, completely. Probably the service may have been off for about maybe an hour, but man, they came in and really got after it. I like their traffic control, precautions and stuff. So really good to them. Last week, I did get an opportunity to go by the radio station as they were painting in there, and boy, that building's really coming along. White Sands is doing an excellent job as it's going in there. I did have a few questions, and they were answered. As far as for the electrical lighting and the wiring I didn't know it was going to have a drop ceiling, so that's what those conduits sticking through the walls were for. And I go, oh man, is that for the bird's nest or what? So anyway, I'm really impressed of how that's coming along, and excited for the Wingfield House to be restored and stuff. So thank you, Judy, for getting me that information on the properties sales and or what we've purchased and stuff. I've been getting quite a few calls of, now which properties did we buy and how much and what's it for. So I'm glad we're going to be discussing that today, going there. So, and one other thing too is that I really appreciate Anthony and now Amber Word, that here's a lunch pail that you're my witness. There's
beautiful.
Shipping Salas' name on there. She wanted to make sure she got it back. But this was the recognition, appreciation gift given to all our retired senior volunteers. It's sad that we can't have the banquet like we normally have every year. And I hope that we could try to do something so the minute that we are able to, congregate for a meal all together, or at least over 100 people. So, and with your wisdom, Mayor, and making a long agenda here, I asked Shipping to pack me a dinner.
So you got your own lunch in there.
So, as a loving wife as she is, I forgot to tell you, they came with nifty stuff. This decanter, this spoon and fork, and I think on one of these, the fork
is a bottle opener.
So my wife packed me for my main course a bottle of Sam
Samuel.
Adams Summer Ale. Wow.
She packed enough for all of us.
No, this is just mine. They go there. And then, of course, I get Modelo for
Especial.
dessert.
There you go.
Boy, this is going to turn out to be a good meeting.
But she did say, you better share, and I'll share with you guys. Well, depending what time we get out of here. I don't know about that. I may walk out in about 2 minutes and start drinking this.
Wouldn't surprise me.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, well, we enjoyed it.
Just one other thing, I wanted to say how wonderful it is to see half of the people that we've hired that are from
Locals.
Ruidoso or from Lincoln County
Yeah.
area.
Yes.
And so it just, you always want your young people to come back home and make this their community. And I'm just real pleased to see that over half of the people that were here were from Ruidoso.
Yep, me too.
So, all right, that's great.
Glad to see some police officers.
Yes.
Okay, now then we'll move on, but before we move on to village manager, he got a little snippet in the Albuquerque Journal. They wrote up about potholes, and they had, we have on the website the potholes to be filled, and Josh and his department does an excellent job at that. But you were mentioned in the Albuquerque Journal, so I don't know if that's good or that's bad. It's probably started something bad. It's probably not the beginning, but hopefully the end of the beginning. So anyway, without further ado, we'll move on to village manager, Tim Dodge.
Mayor, I guess I'm gonna have to take a look at the Albuquerque Journal, because
Yeah, well, I'll just send you the snip.
I wonder where they picked up me talking about potholes, maybe on the radio.
Maybe it was pot.
That's what he's telling
Yeah, because we did talk about marijuana.
So, excuse me, Tim, before you go there, since you brought up the potholes, there's a brand-new Facebook page that started up today that talks about potholes within the village and so forth. So just so that everybody knows, if you go to the village website, go to the street department's page, there is a link, and you can click on that and report any issues that you know with roads, and it will go immediately into the repair order to be taken care of. But what you also have to understand is within the village limits, we have roads that belong to the village. We have roads that belong to the county. We have roads that belong to the state. So don't be blaming the village for all of the roads, because they don't all fall under our purview and our responsibility. But go to the village website, go to street departments, and there is that link there. You'll see it. It's click on it, put in the information about where there's a pothole, where there's a road issue, and the street departments will get on it. It's not that it's being ignored. Those just aren't getting reported to them to know where to go to make the repairs.
Good point. Yes, sir.
Are you gonna send me that article?
Yeah.
Well, I was waiting for it still.
I think somebody else will send it to you, but I'll send it to you.
Mayor, as part of my reports, I actually asked Josh to come up and talk a little bit about a couple of the upcoming projects, one on Muscalero Carrizo Canyon, and then Grindstone as well. So Josh, if you want to come up to the mic up here and talk a little bit about the schedule, what you have going on. And then, one of the things, Mayor, we met this morning, we actually had, because I hadn't seen the article, I didn't even know that it existed, but we had a discussion this morning about, producing some cold mix and having it ready, so that when we do the street cuts, they're not just using, millings to fill in the various street cuts, or where we have breaks or things of that nature, but they have good material, to put into those places so that we don't have it washing out and we're not having to get out there and redo it again. So we're actually going to be changing a few things in the way that we handle those. And Josh is going to talk a little bit about the upcoming projects. One of the things that Ron and I have been up to is really talking about putting ourselves in a position where we could start addressing like Paradise Canyon, Warrior Road, a lot of the bigger streets that do belong to the village, and proposing those through the new funding that's coming down through the Recovery Act. And it's our understanding that also our legislators appropriated quite a bit of money, and the governor signed it to go to the Department of Transportation. So we are focused and making sure that we address the streets and the conditions of the streets. But Josh is going to talk about a couple of areas that he'll be working on with his crews, and hopefully getting done before June, and then the next project starting up in July. So go ahead, Josh.
Yes, sir. Our current map project that we're working on is.
Talk louder, please.
You can.
Yeah, there you
Our
go.
current map project that we're working on is Carrizo Canyon and some of the side roads there to address the drainage issues coming off into Carrizo Canyon. And we're working closely with Adam and the sewer. We're gonna raise the manholes in that area so that everything will be, flat, level, and everything to grade. And once we finish this map project on Carrizo, it has to be done by June. And once that is finished, we'll be moving directly into Grindstone Canyon, or Grindstone Road, and be working on that road, the drainage and getting all the drainage and everything addressed on Grindstone, all the way to Center Street. And that'll start in July, and it'll be fiscal year July to July that we'll have to complete that.
When you say Center Street, does Center come up and around?
Not Center, Wingfield. I'm
Wingfield,
sorry.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. That's great. Thank you.
So, Josh, a quick question, because I noticed some of the equipment parked over there, the Mescalero line and stuff. Are we chip sealing
Thank you.
the Carrizo Canyon Road?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're gonna start at the reservation, and we do have our laydown machine over there as well. And in the rougher areas through there, we're gonna go through and pave and overlay.
Okay.
And then once we get all that done, then we'll come back through and chip seal everything.
Okay.
Once we bring all the manholes up to grade and overlay the rougher parts there.
Okay. I know we do chip seal to save money and stuff, but man, if we could do overlay, and that's what I'll be requesting for Warrior Drive, just kind of like how we did Mescalero Drive. I mean, that was such a beautiful project, still is, but how smooth, how nice that is, because the reason why I don't like chip seals is that in the last 6 months, I already have 2 chips on my windshield from following a car going 30 miles an hour on the chip seal road. So that's one thing that I would be an advocate for, a permanent overlay. But I mean, in the MAP funding, that's what we got allocated and that's what we asked for, correct?
Yes, sir.
So will Grindstone be that way as well?
My intentions with Grindstone is actually to overlay all of Grindstone.
Okay.
Is bring it up to grade, get it smoothed out, and overlay all of Grindstone.
That would be great. That's good news, so.
And Counselor Solis, I will disagree with you in that the chip seal I like because High Loop during the winter is always an ice skating rink.
Right.
Since we had the chip seal, it does provide more traction. So in some areas, it does provide more traction. We have less slippage of the vehicles, so.
So maybe Josh, for those of us that really are lost in this translations, what is chip seal?
A chip seal is where we go in and we grade everything out, get everything smooth, and then we come in with an oil that seals the road, and we actually drop 3/8 chips on top of that to help fill in the cracks, and it's a seal. It's a 3/8. The chip is the 3/8 chips that we're putting in oil to fill in the cracks and seal the existing road to help prolong the longevity of the road.
And then do you run a compactor over it or anything?
Yes, sir. And with that, there is still, when we do that, there still is a little excess gravel that doesn't get completely pushed down into the oil. And after that, we do come back and sweep what we can off, but there's always gonna be a little bit that, rock here and there that'll pull up and.
Gotcha. Great, thank you for that.
I had a question, Josh, on the chip seal, do the potholes come out easier on chip seal than they do on an overlay?
On that, we've been working on that. We're actually, with all the potholes, before we chip seal, we go in and we patch with hot mix.
Oh, okay.
and then come back and put the oil and then the chips over that to help seal everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
Mayor, did you want me to talk about the article a little bit?
Only if you want to.
The article is actually about my cousin that got married while her fiance was in the hospital in COVID. And so, we worked on getting her a license issued on a Sunday because they said that they're going to be reading him his last rites. So
Oh, my goodness.
several people got together and we actually got a county clerk out of Guadalupe County to issue the marriage license on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was just attached to a previous correspondence.
But our own Whitney was gonna
Yes.
take care of it for us, but Tim got someone down there to do it, so it was nice to see government be responding. That was on a Sunday or Saturday?
On a Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Wow. So anyway.
Within like 4 hours, they ended up getting the marriage license driven to Albuquerque and ready. But anyway, Mayor, we are focused on the streets. And, Josh did inform Ron and I that he did need some additional money for some hot mix and oil. So we're working with him to get that accommodated. And, the people that have put out that notification process, that's great. It's nice if you guys can help us identify areas where we can, get them addressed. So, I think we want to encourage people getting involved and contacting us, and feel free to give us a call. If there's other platforms that are being set up to help us address the issues, I think that's a good thing. So
I sent you the link.
Yeah.
That was sent to me, so.
If they inform us, we'll get out there, just like, they can call in and or get on the internet and on our website and let us know where they're finding potholes. And our guys have been very responsive to get out there and get them addressed. So I want to thank those people that are getting involved in, taking the community into their own hands as well to help us out. The next, Mayor, I wanted Judy just to cover a couple of the revenue streams coming in, just so that you have an idea and the public gets to hear it from Judy of where we're at on some of the revenues and how the economy's been acting here. Some people think that, just because we did go through that pandemic that we're, financially, I think the council has done the responsible thing. They took quick response last year, were very conservative, and as a result, what we're seeing with the economy, it has bounced back and is doing extremely well.
Good afternoon, councilors, mayor. As you know, when we went, we were building the budget for fiscal year 21. We were at the start of the pandemic and nobody knew what exactly was going to happen. So you all advised us to take a very conservative approach. And so we had budgeted our GRT revenues and a lot of our other service charge revenues very low. So the good news is with doing that at the end of the quarter, which ended March 31st, overall on GRT, we had budgeted 10.2 million, and we have collected through March 11.2 million. So we have already made budget on GRT, and with 3 more months of receipts yet to go. So we are actually at 109% of our budget right now. Another one of the taxes that really drives the village is our lodgers tax. And we had budgeted $1 million, and as of the end of March, we have collected 1.5. So we are definitely up on those 2 revenue sources with a whole quarter left to go. Lodgers Tax Committee did this morning allocate 700,000 towards parks for Parks and Rec. I believe it was the Alto Lake. Rodney, you're gonna have to help me. Eagle Creek and Grindstone. So a lot of those projects we're gonna get started this year. Hopefully we'll be able to continue through the end of the fiscal year. So even though we have that big gap on lodgers tax, we will be budgeting the additional revenues in order to compensate for those projects. So as of March, we are doing really good. Again, gross receipts is on a 2-month lag, so the receipts in March are actually January. So we'll be still with February and March, and you know how many people were here in March. So our May distribution on GRT should be really good versus lodger's taxes on a 1-month delay. So our March receipts were actually our February lodging taxes. So we're good to go. If you have any questions.
Mayor, I just wanted to add to that, Lodgers Tax Committee did have their budget hearings. Their recommendations will be coming to the village council for the upcoming budget year. The budget recommendations that were made today for the Parks and Rec Department is on your agenda for a recommendation today, as we discussed last week. So we'll be covering that a little bit later in the regular items. So I just want to thank Judy, Mayor, for all her efforts. In addition to that, with the JUB, we have an agenda item going to them to approve the lift station project. We had talked about putting it on here, but historically, that action has been taken by the JUB. FEMA has concurred and Homeland Security has concurred with the bid. So our recommendation to JUB is going to be to award the lift station project.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Mayor, next I want to thank Zach for his efforts. Ron had informed me that the legislative appropriations that we've received this year has been a high for Ruidoso. This year, Samantha did our submissions to the legislators and processed our requests, and we're right about 2.6 million that we'll be receiving. Of that, there was a little pot of money that Zach gave us for Village Hall improvements that came out in the junior house bill. For appropriations, it was a little bit of money they had left over from somewhere, right, Zach? He gave us an additional $115,000.
Oh my God.
So, with that, I just wanted to report that, Ron and I got a shock yesterday on the Village Hall remodel project. We got informed that the inspector is not going to let us move into the south side of the building until they finish the north side so that they can tie in the electrical. And then they turn around and asked us to vacate the whole Village Hall. So we're like, well, wait a minute, we hadn't planned to vacate the whole Village Hall. So anyway, Ron and I met with them this morning, and what we talked about is a plan to where they're not going to move forward with a customer service area immediately. We're going to kind of break it into 2 different phases. In the customer service areas where Judy's office and Haley's office is currently at. So that's going to be suspended for a bit. And we're going to move the rest of the employees into the lobby area and into the front area. And then we're going to give them the rest of the building so that they can proceed with the rest of the building. We're going to be coming back with a proposal, the $115,000 that it's coming from the general fund. So as opposed to severance tax dollars, those funds are made available quite a bit quicker. And we're going to come back with a proposal to redo the flooring in the rest of the building and painting the rest of the building as well. And then by then they would complete the north and south portions of the building. Staff would move back into those portions of the building, and they would complete the work on the center part of the building. And that way it would look like the project is completely refreshed. So that's a proposal. They're going to be bringing to us some cost proposals. You'll see those in the upcoming months on how we're proposing to approach that. But that was a quick yesterday kind of, thrown in our lap that this is where we're at, and we came up with a resolution this morning. So in the next month or so, you'll see it coming through.
So Zach doesn't get his office over at City Hall then, right? I kind of figure that's what it was for. So good thinking, Tim, on going there. But seriously, my question you said the utility and Judy and them, but where are you guys going? Ron, HR?
Ron, everybody else, HR and everybody will be able to be accommodated in that front part for an interim period of time. Ron and myself are pretty flexible.
Because we still got P&Z building in the council chambers, right? Man, that's pretty cramped.
Yeah, and so that front part, as you recall, right by where Trina's at, that section, there's a partition that was gonna go up because there's gonna be a door so that people, as you're entering the council chambers, wouldn't be able to go to the back. So we're closing off that front part of that lobby. We're gonna make that into a temporary area for the project management. And then the other section, we have some more space there to house people temporarily.
Okay.
And then I believe Samantha claimed that she wanted to go over to the library, so she's gonna be moving to the library for temporary.
You know, that's a good idea. Good job, Samantha, because, yeah, I mean, that might be, because I was thinking, well, move over to these offices, but
Or her.
you might take over the downstairs library or somewhere, upstairs archives or something.
Yeah, Horton Building wouldn't be a good building to go to.
We're gonna get ready to start working on that as well, so. And we'll work with staff to accommodate them and whatnot. They've gotten a lot closer.
I bet they have.
Doesn't Rodney have
They're not
extra
laughing.
office space?
Wow.
We'll work to accommodate them though, either way.
Oh, Mr. Merritt, do you anticipate maybe having just a temporary building on campus that you can utilize or not? I mean, I'm looking at that lobby now and it's pretty crowded with furniture from the remodel that's going on presently.
We're gonna be removing some of those desks and some of them are in pretty bad shape. So, we're gonna clean up that lobby area and we're gonna work with it. If we do need to, there's a couple of the staff that have been, highly mobile, working from home and things of that nature. So we'll work to accommodate them.
Yeah.
What's the time frame on all that?
Next week.
Oh,
By the end of next week, we're gonna be working on it.
To be completed?
No, to be moved out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to be completed, what are we looking
The
at?
completion date was early July. They're looking more at mid to late July right now
Okay.
with some of the delays that they had and whatnot. So,
Okay. Next.
Mayor, moving on, I want to call up Rodney next to talk about some of the updated on the swimming pool, rec, sports, and then some of his projects that he has planned. And then we're going to be going to Zach to talk about cannabis.
Cannabis.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. So on various recreation that the department is scheduling for the upcoming months includes many different activities and programs, and a lot of it has the same of the reoccurring restrictions and requirements. And so for our outdoor recreation, including the swimming pool and the Whibbit, there currently under Turquoise are no restrictions on the numbers. And so we could operate the pool and the water park at 100% capacity. Of course, we will, people not swimming will be required to wear masks. We'll put hand sanitizers throughout the facilities. And, we're trying to utilize the recreation, the reservation software we have for every program that we implement. Whether it's swim lessons, daily pool passes, parking passes at the lake, Whibbit passes. We're also even working with Little League Baseball to utilize our software for their league registrations as well. And so the neat thing about that program is once you create an account, you just log into your account and you can purchase any one of those really conveniently. It's an easy program. A lot of the programs that require are going to require acknowledgement that you are aware of the current COVID requirements and acknowledge that you are aware and that you're responsible for you or your family's adherence to those requirements. A little more specifically, we're preparing to offer some drive-in movie options. wilderness camp weekends, adult open gyms for basketball and volleyball. Even as events start, people start approaching us with events, as long as they can comply with the limitations on the numbers, we're gonna work to schedule those. And, you know, we have one, for instance, that was a dodgeball tournament fundraiser that is being proposed for June. And so it'll be outdoors on the tennis courts at White Mountain. So that's one that we haven't approved yet, but we're working with the organizers. Also rental of pavilions, because it's an outdoor space. I mean, and I believe using our reservation software with the acknowledgement of the COVID safe practices and requirements, that we can start that process of renting pavilions as well. We've had a lot of requests, but due to the restrictions, we have not reserved any in quite some time. One of the popular spring sports that is not run by our department, but we try to support them however we can, is Little League Baseball. So we've been working with Little League Baseball the last several weeks, and a little further back, earlier than that. But with the opening of youth sports, getting that clarification from the state, we've been moving forward with a plan for them to operate. What they're looking at is starting registration process, again using our Parks and Recreation reservation system, to start on April 23rd, with tryouts being on April 24th and practices starting on April 26th. And just as an FYI, Little League is one of the sports that did collect registration fees last year, but they did not have a season. So what they're going to do this year is not charge an entry fee for any of the participants. But they will still have to go through the process of registering for the program to get all of the acknowledgements and waivers signed. So the Little League sports, they do have to follow the NMA guidelines that were submitted for the schools for all of their sports. NMA guidelines did submit COVID safe practices for every sport, including basketball, baseball, football, volleyball. And so the youth sports are required to follow those guidelines. Again, all of the reporting and tracking and reporting of positives and adhering to delays that are required by the Department of Health are all the responsibility of that local league. But we will continue to work with them as needed to help them meet, the goals of providing that activity for the local kids.
Yeah, Rodney.
Yes, sir.
So how are we going to ensure that? I mean, it's going to be up to the individual that's putting on the event for them to adhere to those rules?
Yes,
and if
sir.
they're found by the health department or the state police to not be in compliance, that's on them?
Yes, sir.
Not us?
That is correct. And again, and I haven't mentioned the adult tournaments yet. At this time, adult tournaments, that has been confirmed that they are allowed to operate as well. So we have worked through the COVID safe practices and put a plan together in cooperation with the pages who run the adult tournaments as well as the adult leagues. I'm finalizing all of the COVID safe rules, reviewing capacities, but again, you're right. There will be an acknowledgement and a signature page for each one of these organizers to sign off that they acknowledge that they're responsible for following the current Department of Health guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Rodney, what about the teams that come from Texas, like around Memorial Weekend? Are they going to be coming again this year, or is that?
It is possible, but that's one thing that I need to work with Manager Dodge on, is finding clarification on the youth tournaments. There's a difference designation by the state between tournaments and just leagues.
Oh, okay.
There was a stipulation, I believe, the way I understand it, that you are not allowed to play consecutive games on one day. And so those are restrictions that really limit the youth tournaments.
Yeah.
Those restrictions were not in place for the adult tournaments, and that's why they can happen. So we'll continue to work towards gathering the right information, confirming that they are indeed allowed, and then once we do get that confirmation, we'll work with those directors to implement the same COVID-safe practices and acknowledgements. And so, in that case that we did have tournaments from traveling outside the area, the tournaments that we host, both youth and adult at this time, they are all USSSA,
Right.
and so they all have those guidelines as well. But we follow the number one, the state of New Mexico guidelines, and then we also follow the recommendations out of the USSSA. Again, it is on, that's really, if they are wanting to host a tournament, they are going to have to comply. And if they don't comply, they won't be able to operate.
Okay.
Another item, I'm in charge of the convention center, and so we have confirmed that the permitted capacity for convention centers in Turquoise is at 33%. The way the building is currently configured with this meeting space being taken up, the capacity at 33% is 428 persons. And so we can schedule events up until we move out of here at that 428 persons. That will limit some, but there's a lot of groups that we can fit with under that. Before we confirmed the 33%, we were going off the 150 person mass capacity limit. We had already booked 3 events. And we just started having meetings about a week ago. We've already booked 3 events that are under the 150 persons. And so even the conversations that were had earlier today in the lodger's tax, it's looking like there'll be a lot of groups that could be interested in booking events. And then once Village Hall gets built out and we are able to relocate our public meetings back at Village Hall under Turquoise at 33% of the entire building, we could increase that capacity to 585 persons.
Nice.
And so the one that I'm aware of, like we've already attracted a car show that is scheduled for September. It's a combination of its inside and outside use of the building. I believe the other 2 were like organization meetings. Let's see. I believe I touched on all the programming that we would like to host. If I'll entertain any questions regarding any one of these, or if I had maybe skipped over something.
Okay, go ahead, Rod. What about youth soccer? Are they organizing, or are you organizing that?
So youth soccer is one of the programs that we were scheduled to take over and to start this spring. And so, it will be delayed. And the reason behind it being delayed, kind of having last minute or little notification that we can approve with youth sports. We had 2 vacancies in our recreation department that actually manage those programs. And each of the programs that we're beginning to take over, we do continue to work with the officials and the past boards for those leagues. And the previous board was real hesitant at this point to, they were fine with not hosting a league, but we're looking at running a couple of soccer camps this summer.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I just had a couple of questions I didn't know, so that's looking good. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, anybody else?
Oh, I forgot. Swimming pool. When's it open?
The swimming pool, we're on track to open as we do on every normal year with Memorial Day weekend. So as you all saw earlier in the meeting, we've already started training guards. We have a pretty good momentum in filling all of those positions. We'll next starting to fill cashier and attendant positions. Park staff has been preparing the pool for fresh paint and working on the slide and getting ready to prepare for the inspections. And so everything so far is on track we typically like to have our inspections completed 2 weeks prior to opening. That way we can fill the pool and have it, and of course, day of inspection, you have to have the pool open and operable. And so we like to have those 2 weeks because we like to do some little, training for staff. We have that pool available if we need to do some last minute certifications. And so, the plan, like I said, we're on track to have it ready that 2 weeks prior to the Memorial Weekend and then be open for that weekend.
So what's our capacity for participants?
So it is, in Turquoise, it is unrestricted, so it's
really?
100%.
Oh, great. That's great. Good news. I did not know that.
Doesn't make sense, but.
It doesn't.
No, but.
So, yeah, good. And then the Whibbit, is that going out too, or?
So both of them are, considered that outdoor recreation, which is, allowed to operate it with no restrictions on the numbers. And we will have to work through the location of the Whibbit just due to the water level.
Yep.
But the plan is, to operate. There's not really anything restricting us from doing that. The plan is to move forward. I don't have an open and operating date set. We are needing to review the school schedule. I believe school is scheduled to end at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, but they have several sports that are going into the month of June.
Right.
And that is really going to affect the availability of our guards, because all of our guards are typically involved in one sport or another, or one activity or another. And since those spring sports did not have a season, they're allowing them to operate on a full schedule. So the fall and the winter sports were reduced down to like 4 or 5 weeks, whereas the spring sports are going to be a full schedule.
Wow, okay.
Mayor, just, Rodney, clarification, you said the recreational facilities are 100% Turquoise?
So if you recall, we had a conversation with Dan Schlegel because it wasn't recreation. Pools and water parks were not identified under recreation. I apologize if I misstated that. And so on that particular day, Mr. Schlegel mentioned that pools and water parks were to be categorized under all other, which is on Turquoise, it's no restrictions.
And for clarification, Dan Slagle is on the governor's executive committee or whatever. He fills in a lot for the chief of staff too.
Sounds good, Rob.
Hey, you want to go on into, you going to let him go into the groundwork studio Grindstone plan since he's standing there?
Sounds great. I hope with Will Moses with Groundwork Studios.
Oh.
I'm still here.
I'm not sure if you can screen share your presentation, Will. I did forward it to the clerk, but I don't know that they received it in time. But anyway, so Will with Groundwork Studios is here to review, kind of overview of the master plan, and we'll let him take over, and I'll be available for any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rodney. Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. As Rodney mentioned, I'm Will Moses, Principal Landscape Architect with Groundwork Studio. Today I'm going to discuss the Grindstone Canyon Master Plan. I'll go through and start with a summary of the community process, and then give you an overview of some of the recommendations for physical improvements and management, and conclude with a brief discussion of fees and funding. So when we began this project, we envisioned an in-person public engagement campaign, face-to-face with all the users at the lake, in the village, Obviously, with COVID, that changed, and we had to backpedal and figure out some other means of engaging the public. The first thing that we did is we worked with the village, with a steering committee, and with research and polling to develop a survey that was sent out to the property owners in their water bill, and was also made available online. In addition to that, we had a couple of Zoom meetings, as a lot of you know, where we summarized the master plan, summarized the survey results, conducted a mini survey in one of the meetings, and collected comments and concerns. And many of the recommendations in the plan came directly from these meetings. So this is a quick overview of the master plan area. And if you can see my mouse, we're going to look at this area here off of Grindstone Canyon Road. We're going to look at the campground. We're going to look at the beach area. And we're going to look at the disc golf parking area and the equestrian parking area. So wayfinding and information. Wayfinding is pretty critical at Grindstone, particularly during peak use. The road network is sinuous. There's a lot of vehicles, there can be a lot of visual clutter when the parking lots are full. Effective signage is going to help cut down on the visual clutter, and gateways at places like trailheads, at stairs, things like that, are going to help direct the visitors to where they need to be, and also help alleviate some of the social trails that we see being a problem out there. The signage needs to be clear and consistent. The signs that Rodney has developed here create a strong language for the village, for Grindstone Canyon, and we recommend carrying this template forward. It's using locally available materials, and it can be built by park staff. Talking about parking, we're proposing a number of measures to expand parking in the area. Modifications detailed in this plan provide for a total of 183 parking spaces at Grindstone Lake between the existing main parking lots, expanded parking at the campground, and expanded parking near the entry. At the campground, we believe that we can expand from 22 spaces currently to approximately 62 by adding the additional parking that you see here. This is up toward the top of the campground. At the entry, we're proposing to relocate the payment kiosk here to closer to, excuse me for just a moment, to closer to Resort Drive. And we're widening the road here a little bit, and we're keeping the kiosk held back from Resort Drive far enough that we can queue several cars in this area between the kiosk and the road. And what that'll allow us to do is to provide an additional 20 parking spaces graded into this hillside here. Incidentally, anywhere that we're cutting in to the hillside, we're proposing to revegetate those cut areas to help alleviate some of the erosion and runoff.
Will relocating that kiosk push traffic back onto Resort Drive, though?
It can potentially, especially during busier times. But we're trying to, what this allows us to do is to pull some additional parking into kind of the main lake area, and kind of mitigate the opportunity for people to park along the road.
Yeah, the problem I see is that Resort Drive is a 2-lane road, so people waiting to make a left-hand turn in to that traffic, it's gonna back up Resort Drive, and the residents can't get past there if the roads are clogged.
Sure. No, that is a legitimate concern.
And I have a question for Samantha, and maybe John can recall. I thought we eliminated the 90-degree parking off a road. I mean, that was years ago. Maybe we reinstated it, but, because I know there was a big issue over at the golf course, Cree Meadows Golf Course, of all the 90-degree off of Country Club Drive to where they did it to where it was just parallel parking only on that strip.
Well, even in Midtown, they were doing 45-degree angled parking in instead of 90.
Right, but that's where. So I don't know, I guess Samantha check that out or, find out for sure.
And this can be modified to be 45 or parallel parking. Obviously, you'll lose some spaces if we do that. But yeah, it is a possibility.
Well, where would they turn around at? Right now,
They would pull through and turn around in the parking lot.
No, I'm talking about the people that pull in to go to the lake, and let's say they get in line, they didn't realize they had to have a reservation, there's no reservation for them, what do they do?
They would turn around here.
Okay, that'll be wide enough for them to do a turnaround with a pickup and a boat or a trailer?
If they have a boat and a trailer, they would probably have to pull through to the main parking lot. But this is enough space for a passenger vehicle to turn around.
What about a big Texas pickup truck?
A big.
They might have to do a K-turn.
I think we're gonna need some work on this one. This is the first time I've seen that. Also, there was a question by one of our Parks and Rec commissioners, I think you all received a copy. About a parking that was talked about on the northwest corner and it was on the implementation matrix. But it was for trails and pedestrians, for basically bicycle riding and hiking and things like that. And can you tell me why that, in your recommendation, didn't make the cut? I know that on all these meetings or whatever, we have people that have wish lists and things like that, and I know they're not always able to be met. But can you speak to this one? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to envision it. Is it the northwest of the main parking area or northwest of what?
Campground.
Of the campground. I'm trying to, Rodney, can you define it for me? I can go back and read it.
Oh, up, can you see my cursor kind of up in this area up here?
I think that's where it's at. Is that right, Rodney?
It's in the north.
It's that big open
corner
area
where
up there?
You were gonna tie in the trail to the trailhead. I mean, yes, you were gonna tie in a trail to the existing trails.
The proposed trailhead at the northwest corner of the campground. And in the initiation implementation matrix, it was going to have its own parking lot, and it didn't make this cut.
Well, we do have, and I'm going to get to that eventually, but we do have a trail connection up here. This is kind of the north end of the campground. This is where the road enters, and we are proposing a trailhead in that area so that when people show up and they want to go to the trails and they're not interested in going to the lake, they can go and they can park up here. You can direct them up here. They can park here, and then they can access the trail system through this connector.
Will, if I may interject, because I'm aware of the email that was sent by the citizen. So the way I understood it, Mayor, is he was in agreement that this is an important aspect, he wanted it to be moved up on the development plan and priority. And he also wanted to utilize the road on Sunset as an access point. I did share that that was previously kind of taken out of the plan as an access point because of the issues with the neighborhood. But that, I think that is something that he also didn't understand and wanted some clarification as to why.
Okay. Well, how would they access it here? Would they have to take that sharp turn up?
Yes, they would enter the parking area just as everyone else. However, we would give them that as an option. Instead, the way it's presented as a recommendation is that if you were wanting to access the trails only and you didn't want to go through all of the lower 2-level parking lots to go through all that traffic. So if you're, again, wanted to access the trails for hiking or biking, then you would be able to park in this area, hop onto the trail in that connection, and you would be able to skip all that lake activity.
Okay.
So was Trevor just kind of not understanding what was going on, or?
He's understanding what's going on. He wants it moved up on importance on the implementation.
Okay.
And he wants to use the Sunset Drive as an access point.
Is it sunset or sunrise?
Sunrise.
Sunrise.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, okay. But, so, they are gonna have access to what he's suggesting.
Yes, it's a
just,
recommendation.
but he would like it moved up on the priority list.
Yes,
And for us to reconsider Sunrise.
yes, sir.
Didn't you have some kind of commitment that we weren't going to park up there?
Yeah, we were with the residents during the construction. You remember all the issues that we had with the residents, the dust, the noise. So we basically have a commitment to not use that as a continuous drive-through, and we can do it on special events or something like that. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see how we go back on that one.
I shared that with him. He said if he had an opportunity, he would like to visit with me.
And I'll include the other people that I have their cell numbers
Yes,
that
sir.
live right there too, so we can all have that meeting. But yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we can take another look at this area, that's no problem. Okay, and then we have the overflow parking area. This is along Grindstone Canyon Road. And as we've designed it here, we've got 122 spaces. So with the other spaces that we've shown on the other plans, we're at a total of 305 spaces just dedicated for lake use. And there is room for expansion in this area. As you know, there's still a lot of open area down here. So it can be made larger if you need to.
Mayor, I'm sorry, where is this?
You said that was Grindstone Road?
Yeah, this is Grindstone Canyon Road.
Going down to Carrizo?
Oh, that's
Going
over
down
there
to
where we
Carrizo.
dump all the snow and
Yeah.
the anacondas on the outside?
Got it,
That's right, yep, that's this line here.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And so the idea would be that the village would operate a shuttle from this location to shuttle people from the overflow parking to the lake. Another area we looked at in terms of expanding parking was the disc golf area. We're proposing formalizing this parking and adding additional spaces that'll bring the count in this area from approximately 8 to 12 spaces to 30. And some of this is just reorganization of the parking, and other elements are expansion. So you can see we're adding this double loaded area here and providing some parallel parking along the road.
Would that be dedicated just for the disc golf?
That'll be dedicated just for the disc golf, yes. Finally,
I'll still
over
use
near
it for
the,
Fisherman's Trail though.
Well, last year, I believe we had somebody stationed there that was kind of
shooing them
Shooing
away.
everybody off.
You have to bring a disc.
Yeah.
Could do that. Have to have a disc in your telephone.
So, Will, when you were talking about down Grindstone Canyon Road, the parking that's there, that would be to facilitate parking for people at the lake. So then that's, and this is probably in your presentation, but so I guess Rodney knows what I'm getting ready to ask. So the use of the lake, the overuse of the lake, the capacity limits, that's all been worked on?
The way I understand it is, so we have set our capacity limits. The only, the way I understand it, the only point where we would change that number anyway is when it's concentrated attendance, like at the water park. So the numbers that we had previously, recommended to continuing was about that 300 capacity, and that's for participants all around the lake. We could increase it, but it's only the concentrated capacity at the water park. We couldn't increase it for attendance around the entire perimeter of the lake. We've already established that that's a number that people are still enjoying their visit. We can still manage the trash and restrooms. Again, the way I envision the use of any type of off-site parking or this particular parking would be, for water park attendance.
Okay, and then maybe the eventuality of Ruidoso or something at the Wingfield Park that could be utilized for shuttle service for extra parking?
Yes, sir, and those are options as well. I believe they're identified in the plan as potential, shuttling options, just as you mentioned.
Okay, thanks.
So Rodney, did I hear, you said that the occupancy around the lake itself, it would be unlimited, basically?
No, sir.
300.
Oh,
So
300.
we based it more, not on individual number capacity as we did on the vehicles. So last year, after we kind of fine-tuned the reservation system, the 300 was the number where we set our limitation. And so on our highest used weekends on the reservation system, it was set at 300 vehicles. So however many people.
Oh, 300
those
vehicles.
It did.
Okay.
It did fluctuate, but that was what we were limiting our parking to.
Okay.
And then, I'd also like to mention that, on Councilor Salas's, comment on there is some designated, Fisherman's Trail parking that Will, I believe, is going to touch on, as well.
Okay, and you mentioned you're gonna be able to keep up on the trash. I've been getting a lot of calls already, that, especially on a Monday, the trash is just all over the place, and they've been walking the trails and actually pulling trash down for the Parks and Rec people to pick up.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, so there's still a huge issue. I mean,
I hate to interrupt, I hear this all too often. I was on a tour last week with some gentlemen from Las Vegas. They came down and did a recreation tour. You know the comments I heard from them?
Clean.
Oh my God,
Clean.
this
How
place
nice.
is so
Yeah.
clean, it's
Yes.
beautiful. But it just seems no matter how many cleanups we have, no matter how much we maintenance it, there's always that one person or a few persons, unfortunately, it seems to be locals, that complain about the level of trash. And I don't see it. Our staff, and you saw our custodians earlier, we are patrolling our parks on a level that we have never patrolled them in the past. It is literally on a 7-day-a-week basis. Our custodians patrol every weekend, every morning they're cleaning restrooms and patrolling not only the litter on the ground, but the litter in the trash barrels. I'm out there quite often. I've yet to see an overflowing trash barrel, but I'm sure it does happen. The plan, part of some more recommendations out of the master plan is recommendations on staffing, recommendations on the campground host. And so based upon the master plan, we're presenting to utilize the campground as seasonal parking and seasonal campground use. But we are considering having a campground host during the seasonal parking. That way they can assist with litter patrol, being kind of a liaison for people who are coming into the park, being a host. And so we feel that will also contribute to the cleanliness and reporting of those things on a timely basis. So we're kind of trying to get a step ahead of the potential issues with litter and maintenance.
And I'm not blaming you guys, Rodney. I'm just saying, and most of this tends to be late in the afternoon. So I don't know, what your staffing is. I believe strongly you need a lot more staff because that's a lot of area to maintain. But the complaint is really about the people, the slobs that come and leave the ice chests and the barbecue grills and all the other junk that, they have their chairs that break and they just leave it. And it's like, nobody's going to do that at your house. Why are you doing it at ours? So I'm not complaining about you. I know how much you guys do with the little bit that you have. But it is an issue that people are finding this stuff. And if people would just be more aware of it and just put your stuff by a dumpster at least, or by a trash can instead of just leaving it scattered all over the place. So.
I understand that you're not blaming us.
It just sure sounds like it though, doesn't it, Rodney?
It's hard not to take it personally.
I'm with you.
When you have a strong Keep Ruidoso Beautiful program, we have an adopted park for Grindstone Lake. We have a partner with 2 separate groups. We have cleanups, very often. And unfortunately, you're right, we don't make the trash, we pick it up, but it is a full-time job.
You could, on a weekend, you could probably go through and scour the entire place, pick it up, and 3-4 hours later, there's a bunch left because of people, so.
What I notice is they buy bait and stuff like that, and there'll be the little plastic, little trash that I see that down by the water that, the wind catches and blows.
Yeah.
The only thing I would ask, we got those fancy bear-proof trash cans. Do we have any other trash cans? Because that's what I see is people walking around and they don't notice those. They look like something that's not a trash can. Is it because of bears and animals that we do those? There's no other options that make it, easier to throw something in the trash?
So, in my opinion, it is the best option. When you don't have the animal-proof containers, have you ever left a bag of trash in your truck in Ruidoso for about 5 to 10 minutes?
Yeah, and the ravens.
The ravens are that they can spot it a mile away. And so when we have the overflowing trash barrels, the ravens will just do a number on it and scatter it everywhere. So the animal-proof trash cans are really, whenever you're keeping up with them and they're not overflowing, you really minimize that issue. I'm not saying it never happens, but you definitely minimize it. It really is the best option. We could probably place more of them to make it more convenient, but we used to use trash barrels with a professionally produced lid, but they get ripped off. Again, they're susceptible to ravens and bears knocking them over.
Okay. I just think if we had a few more in other areas, because that's what I was noticing, they were having to walk way up to them.
Yes, sir.
So, but I think they
No,
look.
Paint them safety orange so that they're really bright and visible.
Yeah, they're brown.
Yeah, they blend in.
And maybe
And they'll still
said
miss them.
trash cans.
Yeah.
Surveillance in operation, whether it is or not, so. Okay, thank you, Rodney, but I'm with you. It sounded like he is griping at you about it.
No. That's just the way I come across. Get used to it.
Okay,
Mayor and Council, moving on with my report, I'm gonna ask Eric and Randy to give us a report next.
Are we done with Will?
are you done with Will?
Well, I did have some more to present if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead. I think he was just ready to move on. Go ahead.
All right, I'll be quick. So we are proposing approximately 12 parking spaces adjacent to the existing equestrian parking, an enhancement of the small connector trail to provide easier access for seniors and anybody with, some potential mobility issues to get to the Fisherman's Trail. One of the things that came up a lot at the public meetings by a small but vocal group was the need for a paved boat ramp. So what we're recommending is a combination boat ramp with accessible ramp. This is an idea that we got from Game and Fish, something that they're starting to do in state parks. And at the bottom of the ramp, we are proposing a hybrid dock with space for tying off boats as you launch them. So you can back down, launch your boat, tie it off, pull your truck out of the way. And also an accessible fishing dock. So essentially you would come down the ramp, past the boat tie-off and out to the fishing dock. And that's to alleviate some of the conflict that we're seeing now between boaters and fishermen. The idea being that the boaters can kind of come out this way and get out of the way.
Willie, what's the distance between the dam and the fishing dock?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. If you'll give me just a second, I can get something opened up and measure that.
Because I believe we have it in our ordinance that you can't fish 50 feet. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but 50 feet to the dam, that's why we have that buoy thing. Or maybe it's just for boats.
Swimming's what I thought it was, but.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Salas, I believe that the language is just that you can't fish in the buoyed area.
Okay.
I don't know that there's actually a foot limitation to it.
Does that include counselors too?
Yes.
Because I know he's going to be.
I'm always at the spillway. That's why I go on the Fisherman's Trail, and it's where the big fish are at.
Okay, thanks, Will. Go ahead.
Sure. Excuse me. In conjunction with that, in terms of order of construction, it would make sense to construct the other proposed improvements between the dam and the new beach. So pedestrian circulation connections. This is the connector trail that we're proposing up at the top of the campground to link people who are parking up in this area with the existing trail network. In addition to that, we're proposing a stairway between, this is the upper existing parking area. This right here is the road that leads up to the campground, and there's an existing trail system in here. So we're proposing to construct, because there's no way to walk between the campground and these parking areas right now. So we're proposing building a stairway similar to what you've built over here, linking those two.
I like that.
Yeah, that needs to be number one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rodney touched on seasonal use of the campground. By converting the campground to overflow parking and picnic space between May and October, the village can generate more income from selling parking passes than they can by using it as a campground. The proposed increase in parking, as I mentioned, goes from 22 spaces currently to 62. So that means the village can increase revenue almost 3 times. And that doesn't consider the rate of turnover in these parking areas. Survey results indicated that most visitors only spend about 2 or 3 hours at the lake. So there's a good amount of turnover there. So you can probably do better than 3 times what you're getting now. And this does help alleviate the problem of people parking on the side of the roads just in general by providing additional parking within the lake area at peak times of the year. Watershed improvements, real quickly, the master plan team coordinated with Riverbend Engineering to develop a series of watershed improvements aimed at reducing turbidity in the lake and improving water quality. These improvements are designed to be flexible and resilient. And similar improvements are proposed for the parking areas in order to mitigate the water quality impacts resulting from the expansion of impervious surfacing. Visitor capacity and lake levels. We're proposing something pretty simple here. Several members of the public suggested that we consider reducing visitor capacity at the lake as the lake levels decrease. If you think about it, it makes sense. You have less shoreline, you can accommodate fewer people. So we recommend decreasing capacity by 10% with every 10% decrease in the lake level. Real quick, fee structure and funding options. Based on community feedback, we recommend establishing a free local parking pass, thus eliminating parking fees for Ruidoso residents, and at the same time increasing parking fees for visitors from $5 a day to $10 a day, with the option of buying an annual pass. And the revenue generated from these parking pass sales will directly fund the proposed watershed improvements. In terms of funding, I think a lot of y'all know this. Currently, operations and improvements are funded through lodger's tax, users fees like parking fees, boat fees, whippet passes, and boat rentals and concessions. 48% of the people who responded to the survey indicated a preference for funding additional improvements through an increase in lodger's tax. It was far and away the preferred method for doing that. To supplement funding raised by the village itself, there are some options to obtain matching funds from the federal government and the state. Land and water conservation funds administered by the New Mexico Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department via grants provide a 50-50 federal match to local funds for improvements to public lands, parks, and things like that. And the New Mexico Recreation Division, which is part of the New Mexico Economic Development Department, provides a 50-50 state match to support the development of recreational opportunities. So, you know, you can get some good matching funds to help with some of the cost of constructing some of these improvements. And that's really all that I had. Y'all have been great about asking really good questions. Do you have any other questions while I'm here?
Show me where the paddle boards launch off from. Not the rented ones, but the private citizens when they bring.
Well, I think that paddle boards can generally launch from anywhere, but if they want to bring it down the boat ramp, they can tie off here and launch from this area. We don't have a specific area designated for paddleboard launching.
Okay. At least I have a response of where they could launch off from.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the next steps with the master plan?
Mayor, Counselor, it's on your agenda to adopt.
To adopt it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get a copy of it at some point? Because
yeah,
I you know, this is the first I've seen of it, and it's kind of cut and paste. I saw in the comments there was something about 75 pages. I don't know how long it is, the complete thing, but I know people are going to be reaching out to us with all kinds of questions like you just had.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know.
If I can answer that, Will. So I believe that I had a copy binded and put in your mailbox at Village Hall.
Yeah,
I did not send out an email notification.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is.
I did get mine.
Okay, well,
Did someone go get it?
I heard-
Or send someone over here, Rod, from City Hall and bring our packet.
because our
before
meetings aren't there, I
item
hardly ever go there anymore.
Well, I provided it, I think it was at
Yeah.
least a week ago, but
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, I did think of that. I didn't mention it to Will or the clerk. I just placed them in there. Apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got mine.
And I guess one question for Eric, did you review their watershed implementation plan, or are you okay with that or do you have recommendations, or?
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Salas. So Chris Phillips with Urban Engineering and myself have been involved in the process for the watershed improvements. You know, one of the things is that the plan is conceptual in nature, and so I think there's some refinement that needs to happen in some of the areas, but that's gonna come out when we're actually designing it, but the basic concepts are, I think,
Are there?
all sounding good.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, do you have anything else, Will?
No, that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tim.
Council, moving on, if we can have Eric and Randy talk about the water situations.
Gotta zoom into the meeting while I'm here. All right, Mayor Crawford and councilors, Mayor Boyd as our Water Resource Director, and I've got Randy Kane, our Water Production Manager here. And we wanted to talk to you, just give us a brief update from the drought presentation that I gave at the special council meeting, and then to give you an update about violation that we've gotten for total organic carbon at Grindstone Reservoir. So the previous graph that I presented for drought hasn't changed at all in the 2-week period. So we're still at exactly the same map. And then, actually right after the workshop, Frank Potter sent out a pretty extensive literature review about the drought outlook, and I sent that to Councilor Jackson, and he concurred that it was a pretty thorough scientific review. But I wanted to share just this graph from there, and that's just the outlook for this season. So the period for this is through June 30th of this year, and based on no projections, we should expect that there's no change in our current drought situations for the summer. So hopefully we'll have a good monsoon season and a late portion, but we shouldn't expect precipitation until then.
So is that saying that we'll be in that exceptional drought till June 30th, or that's what they're predicting?
Councilor Sauce, yes. So we can expect pretty minimal flows in the Ruidoso for this early summer. So on to the not so fun part, total organic carbon violation. So the village's water system failed to meet the minimum total organic carbon removal levels for the fourth quarter in 2020. And we'll explain a little bit about it, but the total organic carbon running annual average ratio of our removal ratio should be above 1. And based on the fourth quarter of 2020, our average was 0.92. So we didn't remove enough of the total organic carbon that we were supposed to. So I'm sure right now you guys are wondering, well, what the heck is total organic carbon and what does it mean to me? So I had to do a crash course on this, and it brought back some night terrors of taking organic chemistry in college. But total organic carbon is primarily humic and fulvic acids, and those are the kind of the end product of plant and animal decomposition. So, people are made out of proteins and carbohydrates, and when those break apart, there's little remnants. And these groups are called humic and fulvic acids. And those of you who are gardeners or interested in soil health, those are all very good things to have in your garden soil. You want that. It helps plants grow and be able to utilize nutrients and minerals from the soils appropriately. There's also total organic carbon from amines, urea, or synthetic sources like fertilizers, pesticides, and detergents. But total organic carbon is just a natural process of life. It's in water. And when you're looking at the various ranges of total organic carbon, when you're looking at wetland areas, like bogs or marshes, you can have anywhere from 10 to 60 parts per million of total organic carbon. A eutrophic lake would have approximately 12 parts per million, and Grindstone Reservoir, which is an oligotrophic lake, would be about 2.2 parts per million. And we regularly see our total organic carbon at Grindstone being anywhere between about 1.7 to 3 parts per million. And so, those of you guys that don't know the terminology, but oligotrophic just means that it's kind of like a clear water. It's not a water that supports extensive vegetative life. There's plants and algae that grows in Grindstone, but it's not like you have these big, dense thickets of submergent vegetation that are growing. There's just some periodic algae blooms and some emergent vegetation. So even rainwater and snowwater has total organic carbon, and on average has about 1.1 parts per million. So it's always going to be present in our water. And so what does total organic carbon do? So total organic carbon is used as a non-specific indicator of water quality because there's no direct health impact from total organic carbon.
Can you repeat that louder?
There's no direct health concern with total organic carbon. So
Thank you.
if you're consuming total organic carbon in drinking water, it doesn't directly affect you. So why does the EPA regulate it then? It's because later on, after the water's been treated, and if this total organic carbon is left in the water, it interacts with the disinfection process that we use in the water. And so the chlorine and these humic and fulvic acids and other total organic carbon, they combine, and the byproduct of those is going to become our secondary disinfection byproducts. So if you guys remember back to the TTHM, the total trihalomethane.
From the restaurant.
Yes, sir. So that's what this can help or can create later on in the water system. So Randy's going to talk a little bit about the EPA compliance requirement and to talk about the violation.
Mayor, council members, Randy Kane, Water Production Manager. This is kind of complex, so it's basically one of the most complex rules that EPA has. So I'll try to keep it down to a certain level to make it easier. But anyways, this is a table of TOC removal percentage based on total organic carbon and alkalinity and in the raw water. So basically we are going to use the first line, like Eric had mentioned. We usually have our raw TOC between 1.7 and 3.0. So we would use the raw alkalinity would be 20, let me take that back. It would be the 25% because our raw alkalinity is usually between 70 and 80. So we would actually remove or use the 25% removal ratio. And then of course, if it goes up, to 120, then you go to 15% or 0 to 60 would be 35%. And then like the next line, the raw TOC, if it's 4.0 to 8, then you would use the next line, 45, 35, and 25. Same thing with 8. So this one is kind of complex. Basically what I'm going to break it down to is the top blue line is represents, the first one is quarter, which we have 4 quarters. And then the next one is the year, and then the alkalinity, and then the source water TOC, which is the raw. And then that's the value that we pull from the water, or the raw water when we take the sample. The treated is coming off of the waste or the water treatment plant, and we pull that out of the clear well. And the actual percentage of TOC removal, that's what's actually calculated. It takes all three of the values, alkalinity, source water TOC, and the treated TOC. And then the next line is the required TOC removal. Like on the previous page, we use 25%. And then the next line is calculated TOC removal ratio. And the next one is the reported TOC removal ratio. And then the next one is the running annual average. And let's see. And the last one is the basis for how we reported it. So I'll look at the first line. The alkalinity was 79.1, source water TOC was 2.2, and treated was 1.8. So we actually had a TOC removal ratio of 18.2, which was lower than the 25%. And so it actually calculated the ratio to 0.73, which is under 1. But the reported TOC ratio is 1.0. And the reason we had to use an alternative calculation, which I should say either the source TOC or the treated TOC has to be 2.0 or under. And if it is, you can use that value. So in this case, we used the 1.8 since it fell under 2. And then the spreadsheet that we put all this data into, it automatically does all the calculations. It's kind of pretty complex, but it will take the data here and it'll put the 1.0 as the reported value. And because otherwise the 0.73 calculated would not work. And then therefore it calculates the running annual average. We can't really get a true running annual average until we take all 4 quarters. And then once we put in the 4th quarter, it will calculate the running annual average. In our case, it came out to 9.94. And the reason we got the violation is the 2 values on quarter 4, it was 3.0 and 2.5 on the treated. So the 3.0 was probably the highest value we've had in years. And we couldn't use the 2.5, so I had to go through and do an alternative calculation. And there's actually like 4 of them, and they're all based on the criteria. So when I ran the calculations, it actually came out to 2.1, and we just barely missed it. And so that's why we got the violation, because it actually put the calculated TOC removal ratio to 0.67, and that value needed to be 1.
Let me ask you this, what would cause it to get to that 3.0?
Well,
you see on the road?
It's going to be in the next couple of slides.
Okay.
I mean, what we did is put together possible causes.
Okay, I can wait.
So that will kind of answer that question.
I have a question.
Yes, Councilman.
So the running average, annual average on all of these were 0.98, 0.981, and then 0.94. So it's not the running average, it's the reported TOC that has to be 1. Because if it wasn't, why wouldn't we have violations on the other quarters?
Well, because if you see in the last column, it's got the alternative or the calculated value.
Right.
So the alternative is the 1.0, and the calculated is the other number. So.
Councilor Waterman, so the EPA recognizes that TOC of 2 milligrams per liter or less, or 2 parts per million or less, is inconsequential. And so when we do the TOC calculation, the treated TOC average over that 4-quarter period is 2.0 or less. It can be an alternative calculation. So as you get closer to 2, it's harder to remove the appropriate percent. And so the EPA has given us lots of ways to be compliant.
Alternative calculations.
Got it, okay.
There's lots of alternative calculations.
Yeah, it gets, we could be up here for a whole week talking about this.
So, while you're talking about alternative calculations, I know when you talk about alkalinity, 79.1, 79.6, how does that relate to pH? Because that's what people understand. Alkalinity in water, is like 0 to 14, or the prime is between like 8 and 9 alkalinity. So
Or
how does that
pH.
relate to that? Drinking water?
Well, the pH is basically the acidity and.
Yeah, electrical part, which is acidity, to the basic,
But
which
you
is
were asking
alkaline.
the correlation.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, because 79.1 seems high, and I know I'll get questions asked, because people aren't used to alkaline numbers being that high. So what is that measured against?
Mayor Crawford, that's, I don't know exactly what the unit is of that, but that's not pH.
No.
So,
Okay.
pH is a logarithmic scale. So this alkalinity, I think your incoming water from Grindstone is like just a hair over 7. So it's close to neutral pH, correct?
Right, because that's
It's a little
close.
bit higher, so
Okay.
we do have that alkalinity, which does make it a little bit more basic, but it's not like way up in the scale.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out how that number,
Like the grinds, or the Alto water will be 178, 180. And then the alkalinity on Grindstone is in the 70s, the 80s.
but I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know, that's just a different scale that I'm not used to, so I was trying to figure out where I could read on it. But carry on, it's not that important.
Okay.
Eric answered the question on the 7 with Grindstone.
Yeah, because 7.5 is, neutral. So, yeah, like Eric was saying, it gets real complex because we have a lot of different calculations, but each calculation has a or has a different range. So you have to have certain things to fall in the range. What kind of messed us up? Because I couldn't even use the last 2 calculations because TTH value that we had was 880, and I think in order to use the last 2 calculations, it has to be 40, and the average of 40.
So I think what we're doing is, you're talking over all of our heads here right now, but the basic premise is you're going to tell us kind of what you think precipitated maybe this happening, because all these numbers are, believe me, they're going over my head and I'm looking at them.
Yeah, it's like Joe Savage says, it's probably the most complex rule. There's a lot of variables, and this sheet does all the calculations. It'll even pull from alternative calculations, and it's kind of hard to.
How often are we taking samples now? Aren't we doing it?
Well, what we did is we were on 4 quarters, because in order to qualify for quarterly sampling, I had to send Joe 2 years data on Alto and Grindstone, and out of the 24 samples, we were really good, and until this 4th quarter. But now what we did is we went to monthly, and we also implemented an additional alternative calculation, which is called the SUVA, and that's a whole nother animal right there. But that's going to help us keep in compliance, because if we have a weird number, in which we did on February of this month, we couldn't use it because it was like a 0.73. And then so what we were able to do is we did the SUVA calculation, and it did work, and we were all able to substitute that as an alternative calculation.
So to be clear, Joe Savage, I don't think everybody knows who Joe Savage is with the New Mexico Environmental Department. His job is water what?
Yeah, he oversees all the surface water treatment plants in New Mexico. He's like the surface water administrator.
Yeah, I remember when we weren't good friends, so.
Yep.
Yep, but the bottom line is, to this portion is, it's nothing safety-wise that we're worried about anybody drinking it. Would they even notice a taste in it? No. And this is that we want to get it cleaned up so that when we do our disinfection with the chlorine, that we don't have another byproduct of that.
Correct. You know, we're implementing some steps to prevent it in the future, so.
Okay.
I mean, we're already on it. Like the email I sent to you with, you know, from Joe, I submitted the first 3 quarters data for this year, or let me say, retract that, the first 3 months data. And then we're all in compliance and everything's rolling pretty good, so.
Well, I mean, I feel comfortable because I know you guys watch it all the time, and I just want the public that hears and is watching and listening or whatever, that it's safe.
The biggest thing is there's no upward trend, like the numbers aren't running real high. I mean, yes, we had a oddball 3.0, and that was the highest value I've seen, you know, in a long time. So,
Maybe that big catfish that you've been hooking all this time finally croaked.
and then the other thing we looked at also was the TTHM numbers, and except for that oddball 880, everything else is right in line. So if this was upward trending, it would affect the TTHM values too.
Okay.
And then there's other things we're doing to lower the chlorine, to try to keep the TTHMs and, you know, keep them in check.
Okay.
So, there you go.
So, we went through and kind of itemized some possible causes. So remember that TOC there's a lot of different components that can contribute to TOC. So, you know, because those humic and fulvic acids are prevalent in soils, topsoil disturbances could be a contributor to it. So we've had, you know, new construction in the Grindstone Canyon Resort subdivision, of which a lot of those households directly drain towards the reservoir. Dick, I don't remember the exact timing of your thinning, but you were doing some thinning in the late summer, fall around Grindstone Reservoir, and so that could have had some topsoil disturbance and had some minor erosion into the reservoir. With all the recent construction activities with the beach and the retaining walls and the buildings, that could have led to that. And then the increased pedestrian use, having higher traffic that eliminates vegetation, could cause more topsoil. We've also had the drop in the reservoir levels, so we've not had new fresh water coming in for quite a while. You know, we're taking it as much water as we can now, but it's not a substantial amount to kind of refresh the reservoir. After having the dam liner installed, you know, before that, the department was restricted on how full the reservoir could be, and it was supposed to be 16 feet below spillway. And so after that restriction was lifted and we had the reservoir filled, it was at levels that we hadn't seen since the late 90s, and so you've had a lot of vegetation that had colonized those upper portions of the reservoir, and when that vegetation is submerged, it doesn't just rot right away, and so we probably reached a point where that vegetation started finally decomposing to that humic and fulvic state and being suspended in the reservoir. It also could have been attributable to decomposing algae, and that has an association with the temperature stratification of the reservoir. Sometimes you can have temperature stratification that traps air and doesn't allow air to circulate right, and so you'll have algae that will die off because there's not enough oxygen exchange, and so you'll have that vegetation rot at the lower levels. And then also the increased recreational use. There's, you know, more people at the reservoir swimming. There's just more organic material that's associated with that activity.
But Eric, we're talking the fourth quarter, so we're talking October through December.
Yes,
and
sir.
there's not a lot of people swimming during that quarter.
So the TOC doesn't just abruptly change. So building up through the summer, I personally think that it's more associated with the topsoil disturbances, but our solution to this is going to be a multi-pronged approach just to make sure that we can resolve any of the possible issues.
And the reason I stated that is because I know there's some people that are adamantly opposed to swimming in the lake, the Whibbit, and all the other activities that we have going on because it is our drinking water. But that's where I don't want them to just focus on that and say, there's your problem, we told you not to allow that. But there's been all these other things that are happening that are more than likely high contributing to the issue.
And I think the thing to remember is our violation water would be another municipality's passing water. And so, you know, when you get into the eastern United States, and you're getting into these areas that do have, you know, eutrophic lakes in there, starting water is substantially higher. You only need to treat those ratios that Randy was presenting. So based on the alkalinity in your starting TOC, so they might only need to remove 40% of their TOC, and their final drinking water would still be substantially higher in TOC than ours. And so, you know, this is a complication that's associated with us getting so close to that too. It's hard to treat that ratio.
Mayor, and I just want to remind people that we didn't have the Whibbit up last year.
Yeah, and there was no Whibbit
And,
last year, yeah.
and you know, the swimming and the activity from swimming, that's why we put the beach in place, you know, to cut down on that turbidity and, you know, the stirred up silt and whatnot that, you know, causes algae growth and then dying off, so.
But it could just as easy as you said be from the construction up the hill, from rain or from snow or from whatever pushing it down and runoff, or the other factors, algae die off or.
Yes, sir. So, you know, the village is taking this multi-pronged approach. You know, the first thing is it's a tier 2 violation, so it does obligate us to notify the public within 30 days of the violation. But we are able to, since we're so close to doing our consumer confidence report, the CCR, we're able to include this in the CCR, so that will save us on mailing costs to all of our customers. So we'll just combine that with the CCR. The real big one that's going to help us is we're switching back to monthly total organic carbon sampling. So we might get that high October read, but then we had way more of the lower reads that we can get to that average over the year of less than 2, and then we pass. It doesn't matter about the removal if our treated water on average over the whole year is less than 2. With our treatment process, Randy is going to be re-implementing jar testing. It's where he tests a series of polymers, different types of polymers, different concentrations to get the best treatment process. So we'll refine the treatment process to remove as much TOC as we can in our filters. And then the SUVA, the specific ultraviolet absorption sampling, this is an alternative calculation. We're doing that monthly also. So we have another alternative that we can make sure to protect ourselves when we have those slight peaks. For physical aspects of the reservoir, you know, like Tim was saying, we're working, or we're done with the beach at the reservoir, and that should help reduce a lot of the high turbidity of the soil stirring up, which will help reduce some of those solids in the reservoir. And then also all of the various control structures that Will Moses was presenting on the Grindstone master plan. Those are all going to help us with those erosion issues. So the water that's, say, coming off of Grindstone Resort subdivision wouldn't just have a direct straight shot to the reservoir. We'd have some control structures to soak it in. And then this next year, we're proposing a water master plan. And as part of that scope of work, we'll do a comprehensive analysis of the reservoir to look at the stratification of the reservoir and how we might be able to change our management to improve the treatability of the water, but then also reduce impacts of TOC or other contaminants.
Okay.
So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to.
Well, on your one, item number 3, you said best polymer usage. So are we talking about natural or synthetic polymers?
I believe that there's synthetic polymers.
Like biodegradable.
Okay. Just like what's in someone's water treatment system at their house, when you're running your water through and you use the salt, is it the polymer like that it attracts the items to it?
Yeah, so the polymer is going to help get all of the contaminants out of the water and have them coagulate and get filtered out through the filter beds.
And that's done inside the treatment plant?
Yes, and that's done early on in the process.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, Eric and Randy, thank you for walking us through a very complicated topic, I think. I share your concerns over organic and inorganic chemistry. They're still very, very dear to me. So if we looked at, I have 2 things though, in looking at this. It seemed to me that, and please correct me if I misinterpreted, that the 2 key items that you think may have contributed to this event, this issue, was the topsoil and drop in reservoir level. Do you think, looking at the history of this, because you have the numbers that you do, I guess, quarterly, but now are doing monthly, do you see this as an outlier that it's just that? I mean, given the events and the testing that we've done previously, and I know you're taking a corrective approach to it and an aggressive one with your testing and the SUVA. When we get down to, that was my first question. Then the other one was, how are we best to present this to the public so that they're not alarmed? I mean, everyone knows E. coli, but I doubt that one member, maybe in 100, unless they're a chem major, would understand this. And how do we, I'm not saying cover it up, but how do we address it in such a way that they realize that these mitigating values are not an immediate threat to life and limb?
So for the first question, we need to see the seasonal variations for this calendar year to see if, are we seeing a trend upwards, or like you said, was it just just the water that we sampled that day just happened to be a little bit higher, or was it just, did we get to some type of peak development in the reservoir that we've not seen before? Because in the past there wasn't the construction going on in Grindstone Canyon Resort. So far, the values that have come back once we switched to monthly in this year, I think all of them are right around the 2 parts per million. And so we've returned back to what we would consider was the normal. In terms of explaining it to the public, we had that same difficulty with the TTHM, the total trihalomethane violation, because this is even a little bit more abstract than that, because this is something that could lead into the increase in that. We already had a hard enough time explaining that, hey, this is a chronic, if you drink this water for a long extended period of time at that high level, it could cause issues. But when you look at I think the thing that could comfort the citizens is exactly what Randy was saying. When you look at our TTHM sampling in town, we don't see spikes in it. And so if this total organic carbon was an issue for us, our TTHMs would start climbing. And so we're not even seeing a rise in the thing that would cause a health issue.
Okay.
The other thing, what we can also do is how we write up the violation and what we're doing, what we put in the CCR, that's probably a big part of it.
How you write up the notification.
Yes. And that's going to be, in the CCR. It's actually going to have both of them, the last one for the TTHMs and then this one for the TOC. So how we write it up is probably going to be critical, and there's certain sections that has to be in the CCR. The verbiage has to be that way, but there's another part that we can add our stuff. And I think writing it up correctly is probably critical. And the other thing is, by putting it in the CCR, it gets mailed out to every resident, but not everybody reads it, you know?
That's true.
I mean, that might be a godsend.
Or Mr. Mayor, but once reading it, wouldn't understand it and think, well,
Yeah.
is it really, is this good or is it bad or am I to be
I
indifferent?
think we need to have that statement in there that it's, not, it's not hazardous to you. This is a chemical process and whatever.
I'm kind of working on that now, because I've only got like till the end of the month to get this thing finalized and in the mail, so I'm under a pretty big deadline, but I can make it, so.
And I think if you show the relative values of where it was as reportable versus where it wasn't non-reportable, I mean, most people would understand those figures. They'd realize that, well, I wonder why they even bothered, because you're out, 8 significant figures, and most people would go, well, isn't it about the same?
A lot of people, when they see a violation, they don't read the whole violation letter, so they just think automatically it's
Poo-poo in the water.
Yeah, we're poisoning the water, and the water's bad, like the TTHM violation. It never went into the system, so.
If they read that far.
When I answered a lot of the calls, I made sure they knew that, that it didn't go into the system and it was contained in the building, so.
And just as a word of caution on communicating, beyond the first 25 words, you've lost your audience.
Correct.
So you have to grab them. And then after that, they can read all the technical jargon.
Is that called a thesis statement?
Pretty much.
So.
It's called grabbing you by the short and curlies, that's what it is. Any other questions? Okay.
Mayor, I just wanted, not in regards to this, but if that concludes this presentation, I just wanted to provide some clarification. I thought we had placed the Grindstone master plan on this agenda. We'll be proposing that for adoption next month. So we do have time to get those books delivered to you all, and we'll place it on there. So I thought we had put it on there.
I kept looking through here and go, where is it? What did I miss?
When we had talked about it, I saw it on the agenda request. I thought we were, I know that we had a discussion to move to adoption, but it was only placed in their presentations. So I got a little bit confused on that myself, but we will be placing that on your agenda for approval next month.
Okay, very good. And before we move to Representative Cook, I'd like to exercise my option again, not for the convenience of the individual doing the presentation, but just so the council will be able to ask him questions. And that's on item number 17. If you'll allow me to move to item 17, and we'll have, if you have any questions for Justin, he's getting ready to get on the airplane. But rather than someone else try to answer these questions, I wanted you guys to be able to ask him. I know several of you had questions.
Can we take a break afterwards?
And then we'll take a break afterwards. So, Mr. Huff, there he is. Item number 17. Thank you for letting me move
Mayor,
it.
Council.
Regular item number 17 is discussion and possible action on Lodgers Tax Committee recommendation to purchase a speaker system for the Ruidoso Midtown Speaker Project in the amount of $65,000. And the reason it's coming to us is because it's over the $60,000 threshold. So go ahead, Mr. Huffman.
So, yes, I just want to say thank you so much for having me today. And I know we've discussed this a little bit in the past, but I did want to circle back around, obviously.
You're froze.
Uh-oh.
You froze.
This network outside Albuquerque Airport.
Yep.
On the phone is what Jim was pointing.
You'll have to turn his video off.
So, Mary,
We may have to go past him.
he gave us a great presentation last week. on
Exactly.
this, and this is just amazing. At first, I was kind of unsure about it, and then as more and more research went into it and more details came out,
I think this is something that will really enhance the experience of the Midtown area, and continue working towards that feel that we want in the Midtown for all of our tourists and our guests that come.
And we had some questions by others. Would you like to express your question?
Yeah, I was reminded that, the power isn't always on the wooden poles. They're off of a photocell, and when I was reading the description of what it says, do not put it on the photocell circuit. So I did contact Rodney. He got an estimated cost of about $4,500 to convert that to the photocells on the light fixture itself. And, that issue would be taken care of and stuff, so.
But do we know, is the power come up through the outlet to the photocell, which then turns on to allow the power to go to the light?
No, the photocell is there at the panel box on Center Street.
Okay, because the photocells are usually on top of the lights. The
Right,
individual lights.
on the round poles it is, but on those square poles it's there. That's why the Christmas lights just only came on during the day or nighttime and not the daytime.
Okay.
Do you want to address that, Rodney?
Councilor Salas is correct. The quote I requested, and I had the electrician look at the poles, there is room to add the photocell on each of the fixtures.
Council Mayor,
So each individual light fixture would have a photocell on it. And that would just turn off the light.
The light, right.
Okay. All right, Justin, are you back?
I'm back. I'm disconnected from the airport Wi-Fi. I'm just utilizing my LTE. Can you hear me okay?
No, no, we can't. You might have to call in, but it's been brought up by the counselors that you did a wonderful presentation at the workshop meeting, and I don't think they're going to have any other questions. Did anybody else have anything? No, I think we're all good, so fly away. And
Well, I'm terribly sorry about this. I really wanted to be able to present again just to give you anything that you could have questions on, but I appreciate you being flexible with me, and pardon my schedule. It wasn't something that I was expecting to travel on today.
no problem. So we'll just look for a motion if we don't have any comments.
No, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'll move to approve Lodgers Tax Committee recommendation to purchase a speaker system for the Ruidoso Midtown Speaker Project in the amount of $65,000.
Second.
Okay, is that good enough? Does it need to include the additional for Rodney for
I
the,
think it's gonna come out of his budget.
oh, it's coming out of your budget?
We have another line item for the other stuff now.
Okay. We're good on that, so roll call, please, Ron.
Counselor Coughlin,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, folks, for letting me, give me the flexibility. Be safe, Justin Huffman. Now we will take a short 10-minute break so everybody can go do what they got to do, and then we'll pick up with public hearings.
Mayor,
Nope, with village manager report.
Did you get that text I sent you?
Yeah, that's bad.
We'll talk about that a little bit later in executive. We'll bring that up in executive.